Hey guys, welcome to season 2. We are here and I'm so excited because our first episode is going to be with Sofia Colmenero. Am I saying your last name right?
You are, actually. That was spot on.
First try. I love that for me. I'm so excited for you to be here and help us kick off the season because this is such a juicy topic for me. Obviously, as a former model and the owner of a modeling agency. So we're going to get into all things modeling. We're going to talk about some model myths that we need to debunk. We're going to get into Sofia's experience and also talk about confidence, talk about model mindset, and talk about nutrition and fitness, which I think is such an important topic that anyone in the modeling industry needs to know about. So stay tuned. Thank you guys so much for joining. And we're going to hop right in. I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about Sofia. She is a model, instructor, and mentor, and her mission is to give people a real look into the modeling industry. Sofia has signed with agencies nationwide and worked in global campaigns, including Reebok, and walked in New York Fashion Week. Her mission outside of the gift of modeling and representing today's fashion brands includes extending her knowledge to incoming models about the ever-changing and highly competitive fashion industry. Sofia's strategy of educating models doesn't end with runway training and posture, but she wants to instill real confidence as well as a healthy approach to fitness and societal beauty standards. Her main goal when mentoring models is to give them the tools to appropriately navigate the industry and the challenging situations that come with it. That was such a well-rounded synopsis of what you do because I think it's so important. And I was just talking about this with another guest for a different episode previously. The fact that people think fashion and the modeling world can be so shallow and be so superficial, but there really does need to be more conversations about the back end, right? All of the challenging situations that can arise because we need to be prepared, you know? So tell us, we're going to just hop right in. Are you excited?
I am so excited. I always get a little bit nervous when I have to speak to the camera, of course, but I'm so excited to be here. It's a topic I'm super passionate about, so I'm excited to share this with everyone. Yeah,
definitely. I think that it's so important to have these conversations. So, tell us about your background. Like, how did you get started modeling? Was it something that you kind of got pushed into? Because you are definitely like super tall, like epitome of like what people want to see on the runway. So I'm sure people were probably like, oh, you need to model. Like, was it something you actively wanted to do or did you kind of get pushed into it? How did your start come about?
If I'm being really honest, I don't want to call it pushed into it because I was never forced, but I will say it was more of an influence thing. I heard it so much because yes, genetically, I am just very tall. I was like a little string bean when I was in middle school, high school. So I heard it a lot. I never liked it. And so in order to stop hearing it, I was like, well, I've got to try it. Yeah. So once my mom told me enough times, she convinced me. She said, try it. If you hate it, you're never going to hear about it again. And if you love it, you can take your own path with it. So I pretty much followed exactly that. I went for it. I was like, I don't really know how to do this. She's like, okay, let's go talk to some agencies and get you some simple pictures. We did that. I spoke to a couple agencies here in Dallas and ended up meeting with an agency called Page Parks. One of their agents kind of took me in, took a couple videos of me, which at the time, for those of you who don't model, it's very weird for someone to just be like, oh, I'm going to pull out my phone and take a picture of you right now and walk back and forth down to the end of the hallway. Thank you so much. That's it. And you're like, what just happened?
Was that like an audition or did you, she was just like, she probably in her mind was like, she's got it. I'm not even going to ask. I'm just
Honestly, I wasn't expecting it to be an audition or casting, but it's almost like this happens in the industry so much. It's not always like what we expect. It's not like this is happening right now. How ready are you to either adapt to the challenge or are you going to freak out? what are you going to do with that information or that challenge that comes with, you know, the one that you weren't expecting?
Right.
I kind of just took it. I ran with it. I did what she asked me to do. I don't think I did a very good job at it, but that's all I had in that moment. So I gave it my all.
Did your best.
And then a little bit of time passed and they did reach back out to me and they offered me to come spend some time down in Houston, which is where their home base office was. I spent a couple of days there, worked on like some development things, took pictures, did a few photo shoots. Those were my first ones, actually.
Oh, wow.
And after that, a few weeks later, they offered me a contract, and the rest, I guess, is history.
And you have been thriving ever since.
Pretty much, yeah. I never left it, and I ended up loving it. And I guess I loved it so much that I started to even teach that to people. So it's been an interesting, but such a fulfilling journey.
Yeah. I think that modeling is truly a skill, and you know, having the look and having the height is one thing, but being able to embody what different brands may need and having that skill set, it really is a skill set. So I'm sure, you know, your mission to teach probably just came upon naturally because you've been there, you know, you're like, well, what do I need to do?
Exactly.
So, yeah, well, we're going to get into some model myths because there's so much, and I mean, I guess this is our opinion, but from someone who has been in the modeling industry, who owns a development agency, and another model who has had extensive success, I think this is some pretty important and heavily, you know, we know what we're talking about. I think that there's so much like misinformation, especially with social media.
Oof. Yeah.
I think that those things, everything's kind of like mushed together now. So this is going to be a really good episode for you if you are an amateur model or an aspiring model or looking to be a professional model and kind of unsure about the industry or maybe have had some bad experiences and just are looking for guidance because that is also a thing too. So I'll let you go first. Tell me, what's your first model myth?
So kind of piggybacking off of something that you just said, kind of modeling being a skill. I think a very big misconception is that modeling is not a skill and that you just have to be pretty or photogenic or what have you.
Or skinny and tall.
Exactly. And to just stand in front of the camera and sit there. And that is absolutely not it. It is totally a skill. It is mental toughness. It is practice for hours on end. It is knowing what you look like without even looking at a mirror in front of you. So having so much self-awareness, body awareness, and of course, that mental strength also needs to be a skill that is absolutely developed in order for you to succeed or even continue on in this industry.
Modeling is a skill set. That in itself, that's one of mine also. I'll tell you my first story. Like the first time I ever walked a runway, I actually just attended the 17th annual award show for this company, Harlem Fashion Row. Anywho, Brandis was down in New Orleans for Essence Fest, and it was like a model call. And I mean, at this time, I was young. I was like probably 20, 19. I was a little old to like get started in modeling, but I was old enough, you know. Anywho, I just had like, my confidence was like, I just had this crazy confidence, but I could not walk. And I did not know that I could not walk. Like, you know, tall, skinny, cute, like, you know, and I'm in my mind, I'm like, the world is about to open up. They're going to choose me immediately.
Yeah.
And so they picked the first round and then they picked the second round of girls and they still didn't pick me. And I was just in my mind so angry and felt so wronged, you know.
Why?
But
How dare they?
They ended up picking me, but she told me, the designer was like, you have got to work on your walk. And it's funny because if I look at a video of my walk, even in the show, I walked with my head maybe like 5 inches before the rest of my body. Like it was just a complete diagonal, and that is how I walked, but I had no idea. And so I think, you know, a lot of people can probably relate to that. Like, when you see yourself walking for the first time, you really have to learn how to have posture, have poise, have confidence.
Yes.
And so, you know, it's a skill set. Even if you can have all the potential in the world, but you have to know how to walk. You have to know how to take pictures. And that's not to say that as a new model, you know, if you're signing into an agency, like, you know, you need to be completely like all knowing and have so much practice, but you need to be aware. You need to know what you look like. You need to know how are you walking, at least, you know, have some type of like starting point. And that leads me to, I'll give you guys the second myth. So we did the first one. Modeling is a skill set.
Yes.
You can take that to the bank. The second one is modeling and content creation or influencing is not the same thing.
It is not. No, it is not.
And that's not to take away, you know, I think you can be a content creator and be a model, you know, vice versa. Like, but it's two completely different areas of expertise and like avenues as far as like brand deals or partnerships and things like that.
Exactly. I agree with that. And I think for people that are not in this industry, that line gets so blurred because they're like, well, what do you mean it's not the same thing? Because I'm perceiving it or I'm seeing it as the same thing. But if we don't really talk about what each thing entails, then how are people supposed to know what the actual difference is?
And I do think social media can be a very misleading place too, because you do have accounts where you see people that say they are a model. And this is not to say, if you aspire to model, you know, and you want to model, you can call yourself a model. I'm not saying that, but, you know, especially like people with large followings and like have maybe never had a runway class or don't know how to walk or have never even tried to self-educate, but, you know, they take good pictures with their phone. That's not the same thing as, you know, delivering for a brand or delivering
100%
for a company. And even beyond runway training, you know, you need to build confidence. And like you were saying, knowing your angles, knowing where, like what angles of your face you look best, you know, for photos. And then also, I think there comes repetition. There's only so much that you can learn, like reading, or a lot of things you just kind of have to learn through experience.
Exactly.
Would you say you have learned to be a better model, like the more you have modeled?
Oh, yes. I think definitely that. The more you do something, of course, the better you're going to get at it. But especially in modeling, being put in so many different situations helps you grow even more. Not every photo shoot set will be the same. Not every runway show will be the same. The expectations will be different. You will be in a completely different piece of clothes. Maybe today you're wearing a dress that you can't even move your legs in, and then the next day you're wearing pants. So knowing how to adapt to all of these things is something that maybe in just reading a book or observing someone on Instagram, you're not going to learn.
Absolutely.
But taking those steps to, you know, figure it out, educate yourself, take classes, or, you know, reach out to fellow models or peers that can actually physically help you in doing those things with your own body, not just scrolling through and being like, oh, that was a good pose, might try it next time. Practice that pose in front of yourself, in the mirror. Does it make you uncomfortable to be looking at yourself in the mirror? So what makes you think you're not going to be uncomfortable in front of the camera?
And
little
models,
things like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Models don't get to always choose.
Oh, no.
You might be in an outfit that you absolutely, you know, with every fiber of your being hate. You know, as long as it's not like revealing or like physically harming you, like, your job, yes, your job is to represent the brand and to be influential. And one of our previous instructors, she says that Chanel Renee, love her to death. She's come in and done runway training for our models previously.
Yeah.
She says that models were the first influencers, like before social media. Like you look at a model like on a runway wearing a garment and you're like, I need to wear this.
I want to look like how she looks. I want to feel the way that she feels.
So if you don't see that confidence and that skill set, you know, that's kind of the point. You need to be aware of how you look and you need to have the confidence because you're essentially trying to sell a brand.
Yes.
With that being said, what, Sophia, is your third, or I think we're on the third model myth. I have such a juicy one. I'm going to leave it for last.
Okay. Okay.
You said two good ones. Like modeling being a skill is so important. Like, and then we said the second one. I think we both agreed on that influencing and social media, like, babes, we have to break that perception, like, today. But I think, and this is like not like, it's not scandalous, but I own a development agency, and the reason that I call it a development agency is because we train models. Like, we give them runway training and runway experience, and they also do portfolio building. So they're also building their experience taking photos and being in professional settings, so they know how to operate as a professional.
Exactly.
With that being said, in my years modeling and building my agency, I've built so many different connections with different brands, designers, companies that hire our models locally. So they're able to work as paid models while they are, in that beginning phase. And then eventually they can phase out of the agency and go to a bigger agency. But there is a fee that comes with that. And I know a lot of people are like, you shouldn't pay money. Yes, that's like the biggest thing. And I do think that there are predatory companies out there that you pay thousands of dollars, and it's literally like etiquette train. Like, you're not doing anything that a model would do.
No.
And I think that is scam. I think that's predatory.
It's scammy, yeah.
And as someone who was a young model, living in the South, I think there's so many predatory companies that come to those smaller cities. And that kind of became my mission, because I was like, I had signed with an agency and she never got me gigs. And I remember getting myself a gig that I found on like Facebook, and she was calling me. She was like, you need to send me my cut. And I'm like, I did this. She was like, you'll never work in this town. It was so like theatrical. And I was just like, I'm gonna, and me being me, I'm like, I'm gonna go find me and my friends gigs.
I mean, yeah.
So eventually, like 4 years later, like, because I had done that so much for myself and other peers, the Forbes agency was born. But it is a skill set that has to be learned. So someone who sees, the glitz and glam of the industry, there was a price paid. There was a process that these models have put in. They've been told no, probably. I'm sure you can,
I can't even count anymore.
That's just a part of it. It's just a part of the industry. So now I happily, like, it used to really make me like super sensitive. I was like, it is not like, this is real. But now it's just like, I understand, because there are predatory agencies. But I think that is a myth, that even if you do sign with an agency, right? And it may be a smaller agency or a large agency, you're not going to get bookings, or you may be sent to castings, but you won't be booking these castings if you're going up against models that have been training for years, or that, they make sure to continue building their portfolio and working with other brands. You're not going to get the job. It's highly competitive. So for me, that's like my third and final but most prominent myth, is that you don't need to invest in yourself. You don't need to pay money to be a model, regardless of not if you're with an instructor, or you're taking classes at an actual school, or you're with something like what I've created, which is a development agency, where we do train models. You have to pay people for their time, for their experience, because I'm sure there's things that you can tell models that will save them the heartache, or save them.
Absolutely.
And, that's what comes with it. So what is your take on, model training and instructing?
Well, I would say there's a common saying that they always say, like, invest in yourself. So I want to say it's more of an investment in yourself and your personal development, whether as like, I'm investing in my future, my career. At the end of the day, you kind of are doing both. But in the beginning, when you're thinking about, okay, I'm fresh into this industry, I've never modeled, I know nothing, I want the knowledge. I'm willing to go find it, go learn from someone. I think that if you are willing to take those steps to invest in yourself, you should absolutely do it. With that being said, I think you also need to be cautious and you need to be smart. You need to do your research. Don't take the first answer as the end all be all. Do your own research. Don't listen to what everybody says. If everyone's telling you, oh, this school is the best. If you pay them, they're going to make sure that you get signed 100%. That will never be the truth. No matter who you pay, what school you go to,
that
it will
also
never be the truth.
There is no guarantee in modeling ever. If anyone ever tells you, I can guarantee success, and I think that is what makes an agency or a company predatory. When they promise success and fame, because that's being signed to like a major brand and getting that major deal is similar to going to the NFL. It's rare that you'll be in the 1%. Obviously, you can make a name for yourself, you can make a career for yourself, but to promise someone fame and fortune or to guarantee, you
cannot.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You absolutely cannot. And that's, again, you're hearing us talk about it. It's another red flag that you can look out for if this is something that you're wanting to get into. I would also say that we have a very big misconception that once you're signed with an agency, if it's a good agency or a bad agency, if you're with an agency, you're going to get jobs and you're going to get paid. And that's it. Your career is going to take off. Your work is done. They have the rest. That is the furthest thing from the truth. Your agency is absolutely there to help you, guide you, support you. But with that being said, 50% of that also comes from your part. You need to do the work. You need to practice your walk at home. You need to practice your posing. You need to make sure that your digitals are getting updated. You need to make sure that they know your measurements. All of these things are also work that needs to be done that is completely on you. No one can do that for you. It is a two-way street, exactly. And if you put those two together, then it can be something absolutely amazing. But without that, like you said, the foundation, there's no solid foundation. The building is going to fall.
And an agency provides you guidance, like you said, resources. They get you to the castings, they get you to the gigs, they get you those connections that you need. But again, a lot of things are out of your control. Like the brand or the client that they're sending you. You never know who they're going to pick. No. And like you said, if you don't have that solid foundation, if you're not capable of, having thick skin, if you're not confident in yourself and understanding hey, I know that I'm working, I know that I'm trying. It wasn't today, and then you will get gigs. But, I always, and this is something we try to keep within the development part of our models, staying neutral. When you get a great gig, yes, that's wonderful, but continue to be consistent, continue to do the work, because you don't want to, put yourself on a pedestal and think okay, I did this big gig. Yes. But if you want to do more, you continue to do the work. And I think that's such a good point. It's a two-way street. Absolutely. And you're just at the mercy of the industry.
Yes.
Things change, people change, and you're not always dealing with the most pleasant people. You're not always dealing with the most wholesome people in these casting rooms. So they might pick, you just don't know. And so you need to, in order to keep your own sanity.
Oof, yes.
Have you ever had a gig that made you or just casting situation that, and I'm sure you have, or just one that you remember distinctly that made you want to low key quit, or just, you were just what the heck is going on?
I've had a lot of interesting experiences. I think one of the most interesting experiences I had was the first time I ever had to go to New York to do castings for New York Fashion Week. I was this is so exciting. I've done castings for years. I've modeled, in Texas and around, the US for years. This is going to be awesome. And then I get to my first casting. There was so many girls that I was you could be my sister. You look like my twin. Oh, that was so freaky. And I was whoa, they called every girl that looks like me here. And then I started that spiral starts getting in your head. Why would they pick me if she looks the same as me? What's different from her that like, you know, I have or I don't have? And then you have to start to really stay neutral, focus, stop comparing, stop worrying about what's going on, worry about yourself. You're also there for a reason, just like the other girls are there for a reason.
Absolutely.
Stick to your path, stick to your plan. I thought it was just like very, very crazy because I just kept thinking to myself, why am I here if they're here? And then you have to remind yourself, you are there for a reason, whether you get picked for this or not, but there's a reason that you're in this room along with every single one of them. And maybe they're thinking the exact same thing. But if you don't get out of your own head in that way,
you could be your own worst enemy.
Exactly. 100%. And I think that's something that happens a lot. And that's the worst thing that can happen to us as models, getting in your own head, being your own worst enemy. Because I feel like when that starts to happen, you're your own competition at that point, and not in a good way either.
And when you can start with the mind frame of I am my own competition before you get to that point, then when you get to that point, and again, I'm not saying this from a place of like superiority, because as a human being, even at my age, like it's natural to have, it's normal. But if it's to the point to where it affects you mentally and you really aren't able to perform and like do what you know, that's when you know, like you need to do some more mindset work, you know? And that's why I think it's also important to talk about mindset and confidence, because New York, if any city will show you that there's plenty of other yous out there, New York is the place. Like, and that's another thing that I try to really, being the owner of an agency in Louisiana. I mean, you guys are in Dallas, Houston, like it's a little bigger there. You have more resources. I really grind my gears so much when I go to fashion events and I just see things that aren't done properly, but I'm like, okay, I mean, it is Louisiana. Like, I'm not gonna, but it's like, I really respect the fashion.
You're still thinking it, yeah.
Like, I really do respect, like, but anyway, there is a part of that makes me appreciate being down here, because it's like I can stick out like a sore thumb and like there's less models. When you go to LA or you go to New York,
you're blending right in.
Girl.
Yes.
You better, the true confidence, and that's what real confidence is. You have to know that you put the work in. You have to know that if something's for you, it's for you. And if it's not, it's just, it is what it is. And I think, that's super important. And I want to get your input, and what is something that you use to teach your students? Like, how do you help them build that confidence? And what would you say makes a good mindset going into the modeling industry? Sorry, that was like 7 questions all at once, but I feel like you're picking up what I'm putting down.
So I would really say the first most important thing is your relationship with yourself. I think in the modeling industry in general, your mental toughness is the most important thing. It's before your looks, it's before your sizes, it's before your, whatever credentials you have. Yeah. If your mindset is not there and it's strong, you are not going to get past those 5 doors. Like, it's just not going to happen. I think the first thing that I work on with my students is making sure that they're comfortable with themselves. I put them so close to the mirror, and as soon as I ask them, everybody stand up, go to the mirror, they are like 5 feet away from it. And I always say, what are you so afraid of getting close to the mirror? I'm like, get closer, get closer, get closer. By the time I make them get closer, they're like this close, and they are just like eye to eye with themselves. And you start to notice immediately they are looking everywhere but their eyes. So I have to just, continually reinforce. You need to look at yourself in the eyes. Same thing when we practice runway. When you walk down the runway and you're staring at the mirror, look at you. Don't try to focus elsewhere, because at the end of the day, if you can't be comfortable with yourself, you're not going to be comfortable anywhere else. And it almost sounds funny because some of them have told me like, oh no, but if it was something else, then like I wouldn't care. Or if it was a camera in front of me, then it wouldn't bother me. And I'm like, the situation will always be different. But if you can get accustomed to every one of those situations, you will never have that problem. You won't have the roadblock.
Yeah. And also, I mean, we all love the attention. We all love when a camera is in front of us, but if it's positive, right? But what if you have eyes looking at you, like you said, and you don't get picked?
Exactly.
So being able to be comfortable with yourself is so important. And I think modeling can be shallow if that's your vision. But I think if you're wanting to get into the modeling industry, you know, I think please have respect for the fashion. I would tell people
100%.
like, you know, mindset, like knowing that you are a piece to the puzzle. I was just talking to Jose previously, and we talked, it's such a good match when you have, you know, a designer and then a collection, and it's, you know, you are a piece of the puzzle, but it's not all about you. Like you have to respect the industry and the fashion aspect of it. And then you can kind of let yourself off the hook because you're like, it's really not all about me. It's really about the fashion. So even if they don't pick me, okay, maybe that person that they did pick represented their brand specifically. And then you can kind of let yourself, you don't have to take yourself so seriously. Like, yes, you need to take your practice seriously. You need to take, you know, your education and your training seriously. But once it's out of your hands, baby, look, you know, it's in the ether.
You know how to let it go. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so good. And also, I know this is so much good stuff. Like, I'm so excited. Mindset is important, but I think something that I do want to cover that is so kind of a controversial topic is nutrition and fitness, you know, and I think we're evolving in the fashion industry, but I definitely have experienced, you know, I'm honestly still the same size now, minus the implants. Like I'm the same size that I was in high school. And my grandmother, genetically, I always joke about this. I'm like, our lineage, like my ancestors were probably like warriors, and we would like peer over the top of everything because we got these long legs and we're just skinny, and we're like, but it's just the way that I was born. But it's just in my genetics. But, you know, I've seen girls that have developed very bad habits when it comes to trying to stay thin.
Absolutely.
And like I said, I'm so like proud of the steps that are moving forward, but I still think there are a lot of issues within eating and weight, you know, in the industry. So what is advice that you would give to models? Like, you know, what do you do? What's your story when it comes to nutrition and fitness in the industry?
So I'll tell you one thing. I was not genetically blessed the way that you were genetically blessed. I'm very tall, and I have always been very tall and long, but not because my whole family is like that. I've also grown up playing sports pretty much my whole life, not because I was like super passionate about it, but just because, you know, I like to lead a healthy lifestyle, and I just thought it was fun.
I want to stay active.
Exactly. So all throughout high school, I was a volleyball player. Even before that, it was volleyball, volleyball, volleyball. As most of you know, volleyball requires a lot of lower body strength. You are constantly like squatting. In the off season, we're like lifting weights to keep us strong, keep us healthy, which is all good stuff. But at the end of the day, when I really did want to take my modeling seriously, I had to also be very realistic with the type of modeling that I wanted to do. When you want to be a fashion model, that's when a lot more of those size requirements come in. So it's another thing. You got to be educated that there's a million different types of modeling. So it's not all just like a one size fits all. But for me personally, being active has always been a part of my life. When I did take modeling a little bit more seriously, I was like, I want to get signed in New York. I had to get very real with myself, and I had to just honestly tell myself in my head, are you willing to do this? And you know, what are you willing to sacrifice and what are you not willing to sacrifice? So you need to ask yourself those questions before you do anything. On top of that, I'm just big on fueling my body. If you eat garbage, you're probably going to feel like garbage. If you eat something that's going to make you feel good, you're going to feel good. It's just, that's just the reality. For me, I'm not like a meal prep person by any means. I'm not eating the same thing every day. Every day is different for me. You know, eat whole foods, stay away from processed sugars.
And I think it's like I said, because the industry is evolving, there's brands that will hire specifically plus size. And
Absolutely.
if someone is saying that you're plus size, it is plus size for the fashion industry.
Exactly.
Yeah, it doesn't mean it shouldn't be a negative connotation. So I think that's important. And for women or models that are naturally slim and naturally just size 0, you know, I would love to be a little bit heavier, but I still embrace my body. Like, no matter what, you never know. Like, some women are naturally skinny. So you comparing your weight to a model that is not doing any work and might want to be bigger, like, you don't know, you know, or might have disordered eating. And that is not healthy. If there is an agent or someone, I have instructors that have worked with very close friends that have signed with models that told them, like, they cannot eat things. Like, no, you don't need to eat today. Now, I do tell models, like, before a shoot, don't have a heavy meal. Like, but like, obviously you should be eating. If you are getting advice
of course,
to not eat, you know, that's a big red flag.
It's a red flag. It's a red flag.
That's, again, another thing that being trained about the industry, there's so many things to learn. We talk about all of these things, red flags, things you need to look out for. And as an agent, it is my job to kind of screen things, but it's still a model's job to be vigilant on those things. And, you know, I always want to promote being healthy. And I think you have given us so much, like, I mean, we could talk about, there's so many things that we could talk about in the industry, but I think, you know, this was such a well-rounded conversation and such a good conversation for anyone wanting to get started. Take this to the bank, you guys. Before we end, I want to play a little game. I love these. This is going to be this or that model edition. So I'm going to give you 2 options. Let me know which one you choose and why. Okay. We're gonna wrap it up, but I just wanted to know your opinion on these. So the first one is the runway or a photo spread in a magazine.
This one's tough for me because runway is my favorite thing, but I would have to choose a photo spread in a magazine if it was something very specific, like Vogue, or maybe something that I've been, like, working really hard toward.
And you can keep that forever. Like, that's like, I mean, you can have the experience of the runway,
In
but
the
having
memory.
a magazine spread,
Yes.
it's
different.
I see.
Physically, yeah.
Okay, next one, Naomi or Tyra?
Naomi Campbell is my favorite model. She always has been. Like, everything from the way her skin glows to the way she walks the runway.
Not real.
No, she doesn't. Probably not.
Naomi, yeah, crazy.
If you're watching this, we love you.
We love you. I actually met her in New York. I could talk about that. And I had to pretend that it wasn't a big deal. Because, you know, it's New York. Like,
it's New York. How to breathe.
Yeah. So we're matching on that answer. All right. So next, photographers or fashion designers? Which is your favorite?
Oh, I love them both because they're so creative and they both have such crazy
I tried to make it hard for you.
But, okay, I'm gonna have to say designers, just because of the fact that when you're in a designer's brain, there's nothing else like it. They see something the way nobody else in the world is going to see it. So a type of creativity like that is just so beautiful, especially to see it in real time, in person. And if you're part of that project,
as a former model, like that, absolutely. Yeah. But photographers can capture things like this, and they capture the energy, but
these are hard.
The process of designing is just true alchemy, like true manifestation, you know? Okay, Pilates or yoga?
Pilates. I love Pilates. I love it so much that I even got myself certified. I don't even teach it yet.
Teach me.
I know.
Pilates takes me out, especially if it's for a former with the machine. You can't cheat.
I'm a heated mat Pilates girl through and through.
Oh my God, I can't wear my wig because my wig, you know, that's another story for another day, but
wrap it up really tight.
Okay. So the final one, have a sit down with Anna Wintour or Rihanna. Anna, I mean, she's the editor of Vogue, but I mean, it's like Rihanna is Rihanna. So like,
I just feel like if it was Rihanna, we would have the most fun girls' night ever. And if it was Anna Wintour, I want her to tell me the tea on how she does this Met Gala situation every single year without fail. It's like the most viewed, most watched, most just everything. It's
The
like,
Met Gala is when you have entered the Met Gala, you're just on a different level.
exactly.
Yeah.
So
We'll be there one day. Okay,
I would love
We're
to
gonna manifest. We'll be
take
there.
your hand up those stairs one day.
Yeah, I think Anna Wintour would probably not give you much.
No,
I would
she
rather
wouldn't.
go-
She probably would
'cause she's
stare at
such
us.
a like icon. She would just be like, just do. I don't know. You know.
You're right. You're right.
Sophia, it has been so much fun chit-chatting with you.
Likewise.
Thank you so much for pouring into all of our listeners and all of our aspiring models. You guys will definitely see more of Sophia. Thank you so much, girl. We'll see you guys in the next one.
Thank you for having me.
Bye.